Welcome back to the Get a Grip on Lighting podcast. On today's show, we have our friend and colleague, Scott Wachter, the host of the Lighting Industry News Brief and the creator of the Lighting Industry News Brief. But he also creates the Darkness News Update, and he does a lot of work in the background of Nailed. And we're going to have a great conversation in just a moment. But before we do, we have to go to my friend Rob Cirillo, our new buddy, Greg Eric, at
That's right, SLP.
slgus.com, baby. Check him out.
And I've been looking at those guys more and more. They're a great nailed member of ours, and they have everything you need in terms of retrofits. You go to a project, you need something, and I just sent them an email today. I said I need this, and this, and gave him the specifications. He shot it back right away. Great pricing, in stock, color selectable, power selectable on most of their stuff, so you don't have to worry about any of the minor detail. Get the major detail and sell that thing.
Yeah.
They got
Push
you.
push that mic up a little bit, Greg Eric. I thought you were a pro. There we go. And of course, the National Association of Innovative Lighting Distributors. We got lots going on. We got a control certification coming out. We got a conference coming up. We got all sorts of things, committees, everything else. If you got light bulbs in a warehouse, Nailed is your crucial shield. And of course, Greg, be in Las Vegas, Nevada, November 4th through 8th, brother, for Light
I'm
Fair.
gonna go May 4th through 8th. How about that? Not November, but we gotta go light fair,
May,
buddy.
did I say November? May
You sure
4th
did.
through 8th. Oh my God, where's my mind at?
Yes. I'll be there, and you guys better be there too.
Sure. Scott Wachter, how are you?
I'm doing all right today.
So, Scott, just start me off here before we get into anything else and all the creativity and everything else that we've built together as a team here. When did you
Yep.
start working and getting involved in all this?
I mean, what do we say by all this, right? Because I started working for you in 2019. But
2019. Okay. So he's talking 6 years, Greg Eric, of
yeah,
lighting
Yeah. And,
podcasts and all that sort of stuff.
well, let's tell him what we mean here. I think because he's like you said it at the beginning, but I think it's the Wizard of Oz, like behind the curtain, right? The guy behind the curtain on a lot of things.
Wizard of
What did you
Oz.
start with, Scott? And where are you at now? People need to know who you are, what you're doing back there.
yeah, no, I started podcasting in a year that had two zeros in it. I can't tell which. I can no longer recall which year, but it had two zeros in it. That's for
Yeah.
sure. I did this as a hobby for a long time. One of the things I also did was I covered what you might think of as the tabletop industry news brief, which was a monthly column for rpgamer.com where I talked about D&D and other products and projects like that, where I would just every month say, all right, here's the Kickstarters, here's the product previews, and I did that every month, and it was mostly about keeping track of 100 guys' blogs so people could see that. And from there, I went to radio school to actually become a pro podcaster, and a bunch of different projects along the way, and it wandered into Mike's life in 2019. Yeah.
Okay, so 2019, you come in, you take over a light read red or whatever it was. Remember a light read? The
Yeah.
Nailed newsletter used to be
Yeah.
called a light read, I think.
Yes.
You did.
So Nailed ditched their content marketing association, and they were like, okay, we still have this ad commitment for a weekly newsletter. Do you know how to do that? And I'm like, well, yeah, I guess I do, because I did do that. And we very quickly took that from 4 articles a week to 100.
Yeah, it's
Was
actually pretty spectacular, the Lighting Industry News Brief. I have to say, it's what's called now, folks. It's called the Lighting Industry News Brief. The amount of just the sheer volume of lighting related articles, Greg.
Oh yeah, and and not because we're part of it, but I'm telling you, just as a lighting dork, like there's great industry websites out there that talk about news and break news and all that, and that's great. We need that. That's awesome. But what I need is just that dedicated, quick time in the morning when I start my week, ideally, which is when the lighting industry news brief comes out. Monday, just recap last week, recap what's coming up. Let me see what's going down. What am I actually interested in? And check it out. And then I move on with my rest of the week doing podcasts, selling light bulbs and all that. And then I'll wait till the next Monday to see what's going down, whatever I need to. So I love it for that.
So every Monday morning, you can subscribe to the Lighting Industry News Brief. Where do they subscribe to that, Scott? Just before we move on, somebody's listening. They're like, I want that too. Where would they go to get that?
All right, so you can go to nailed.org and under the publications tab, find us. That has the audio feed, the video feed. You can also follow Nailed on LinkedIn because there's a live tape to live stream every Monday morning there. I do watch it. I do watch it. If anyone comments, I will answer you in the comments. I swear, it's not just me walking away. But no, it's if you can get it on YouTube, you can get it wherever you get your podcasts. Text version, nailed.org. Yeah, just find it the way you need it, or the way you
And
like
let
it.
me ask you this: it's streaming on LinkedIn, right? On the Nailed
Yes.
LinkedIn channel, so people can subscribe to that, and then they can go Monday morning and they can comment at you, and you'll comment back live on the live stream.
Yeah, if anyone ever does it, 5 years in, 5 years, no comments so far. But if it ever happens, I'll be like, yeah, no, that is the case actually. Or you can just call me out for not remembering what state Knoxville's in, because
Yes.
if you record everything you say, you will eventually realize how many things you say that are completely wrong.
Like I just said, Light Fair was in November. Come on, happens all the time.
Exactly.
Okay,
Well,
so yeah, go ahead, Greg. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, I was going to say you have no lighting background before this. So how do you know what the hell we care about? Like, how do you figure that out? There's so much news out there, and I know you have secret formulas and how you figure out how to do all this stuff. We won't get into that, but how do you
Yeah.
cipher down what you need to put in?
So some of that is just I did work in local news when I was in radio. I was at Hits FM in Durham region, which meant I sat through regional and city council meetings for hours at a time. 8 hour day of a regional council meeting, all the subcommittees,
No,
all of them,
no.
every public comment, and then at the end of 8 hours, I would say, all right, so this is the one time they mentioned Durham or the one human interest thing. And I would
Yes.
do that and I would assemble that for the radio on the bus home, on the bus ride home to get it out there, get it ready for the morning news the next day. So some of that's just old fashioned news training. You know, you look
Mhm.
for big moves, you look for exciting stuff, you look for blood. It's weird to talk about how you don't think the lighting industry has a lot of blood in it, but I've covered two stabbings.
There you go.
Two stabbings.
There you go.
But yeah, I have we pay some internet magic gnomes to tell me all the headlines that they think might be useful, and I sift that down from like 1,000 to 100, and it's mostly about, okay, I have to imagine what nailed distributors want to know, which is usually when school boards vote for renovations, when state grants come up. These are very bread and butter topics for nailed. If something gets a lot of attention from the distinguished competition, like obviously Eric Rondelat will be retiring in April, he will be leaving his position at Signify, and that's like, okay, that's a big wave maker. And then otherwise, it's kind of just down to what I think might be interesting or fun. So if someone's pulsing lasers at a sheet of paper in a way that creates an entirely new spectrometer, that's fun. If someone turns a kayak glow in the dark, I'm up for that.
There you go.
Now, is it fun to you or is it fun to us? Like, is it fun to everybody?
I
Like, are
I
you
I mean,
legitimately interested in
sometimes
lighting?
some things are just for me. Some things are for me.
Okay,
You gotta have some for you. But
that's
sometimes it's
great.
also like, again, the text newsletter gives me a certain amount of data on what people click when, so that
Hmm.
lets me build it up week over week. Most nailed members don't care about horticultural news, so those get shorter and smaller. That section's a lot tighter than it used to be. Uh, and sometimes it's you just get weird curveballs that everyone's a lot more interested than you might think.
You know, I love the way Greg he's expanded it into all these sections. Like
Yeah.
I listen to it in my drive, just like you. And my favorite section is the recommended reading. And I think almost every week I have to go find the email and go into the recommended reading and click some weird project or something that has come up in the recommended reading section. But the whole thing, what I love about it, is that the whole thing is user engage. You can engage as much as you want, but Greg, you're just giving that heads up on a whole bunch of different things in 10 minutes on your drive to work. That's my favorite part about it. And then you can dive into it more when you get to your office if something piques your interest.
Totally. Yeah, that's what I'm all about too, is that summary. And then, if I want to read something, I don't read a lot, but if I need to, I'll dive into it. And it does a great job of linking to all the sources you need and everything there. So I'm telling you, if you need lighting news, and you do, if you're selling lighting or you're involved in the lighting industry, you need to stay up to date with it. That's a great source for it.
First, it's your mic. Now it's your video. Is he frozen to you,
I,
Scott and
I
Scott?
see I'm frozen. Yeah, I
So
see
log
myself
in,
frozen.
log back out. I'm going to take the conversation towards the Darkness News update. We'll see you in
Okay.
30 seconds. Okay, Greg, log back in.
Okay.
There's Scott. Okay, Scott. So you're transitioning. The Lighting Industry News Brief is a fully sponsorship or advertising funded thing. So we have funding for it. Manufacturers are interested in putting their ads in it. Things are tickety boo. Everything's going great. We decide to start the Darkness News update. What a disaster! We've never been able to find a damn sponsor for that thing.
Not
I
a
mean,
disaster. It's
I
good.
think
It's a good thing, but it's hard to
I
find.
I think it's again I what I like about it is that it's the same stuff I'm talking about in the Lighting Industry News Brief, but by going from 100 stories in 10 minutes to 10 stories, I can actually explain some things and follow
Yes,
things
it's
up.
more in depth. That's for
And
sure.
I think it's more in depth, and I think it's just uh the audience is different. I think we have it has to it becomes a much more activist press rather than an industry publication. And activist press is they're harder to sell. They scare people. They can scare certain people. I think it's very interesting to talk about how even in among lighting professionals lighting companies that are like, actually no, we're selling fully shielded low CCT options, the sort of stuff we want to see in darkness. They're like, okay, yeah, but like maybe I don't want my product right next to a billion dead birds.
Yes, yes. That's the problem with the whole restoringdarkness.com model, is that there's a lot of negativity and criticism of the lighting industry in that space, and the people that we were looking to sponsor these kinds of episodes tend to be lighting companies. And not that they're not interested. They may subscribe to the Darkness News Update. They may enjoy listening to the Restoring Darkness podcast, but they may not want product placement next to it exactly. That's fair, I think. I might make the same decision if I was a lighting manufacturer, Scott.
Yeah.
So, Greg, should we dive a little bit into Scott's role at Nailed? I think the listeners might be interested in that. What do you think?
Yeah, I do have one last question
Okay.
on the LINB. Is it harder to find news now than when you started, or is it the same or easier?
I think, I mean, the pace is about the
Question.
same. Obviously, my big challenge is actually the recommended reading section. I'm going to bring that back. Is that we are kind of in an era of dying internet content where, if someone has something, rather than someone talking about some design feature or some particular thing about like, oh, hey, pre-planning your lighting layouts, it's just more and more AI generated slop where it's just like, okay, yeah, I have to go through so many headlines that are just like, oh, here's just word salad about, track lighting that exists only to support ads for things that aren't even related to track lighting. It's a that's what's really troubling me right now, is that section really might that section is really fluctuating in what I can offer.
Yeah, that's interesting. So what you're saying is there's automated bots out there that are generating news stories that are not actually human generated interest pieces, but are really just internet trash.
Yeah, it's like, you know what? It's great when I can pull up a case study of like, oh, hey, here's this office that got redesigned. And this is something, again, a lot of Nailed members kind of have a bit of a designy vibe sometimes, especially when they get into an office. And that's great to say, oh, yeah, here's how they use track. Here's how they use track. Here's how they use spots. Here's how they use controls. That's great. And then I also have 400 things that are just like nonsense about can lights.
That's Greg's nightmare, your job. Greg, that would be your worst nightmare. Reading a whole bunch of nonsense articles written by AI.
Thanks, Scott. Can't do it.
Okay, so over to Nailed. So at the Nailed, when you're interacting with the board and the committees, you're kind of what would you call it? Like the secretary of the committees, or how
Or
would you lay it all out?
I mean, like, okay, when a nailed subcommittee forms, yeah, I do the admin work. I make sure I figure out when everyone can have a meeting. I'll take notes. I will write up minutes if it's really formal. I'll write up minutes, but otherwise, it's mostly just about making everything go smoothly so that everyone involved can just talk about what the subcommittee is there to do, whether that's creating an official positioning statement on the design for disassembly, or a new open letter calling on shielded fixtures, whatever it happens to be. Let all the administrative stuff get out of the way and let the experts do the expert thing, and no one has to remember when the next meeting is but me.
Scotty Wachter should be getting a serious award from Neil. I think we already gave him an award, didn't we? Can't remember.
Yeah, I've got my one. I got
Okay.
my excellence in education.
Scott, what does the future hold for you? Where do you see growth? Where do you see things going in the next 3, 5 years with Nailed and your role and Lighting
I
Industry News,
th-
Brief, Darkness, all that stuff?
I think in on the news brief side, I think we are entering a period of less predictability. I think we are going to see some snap decisions from various people that will change people's lives. I think we're already seeing just right now the possibility of new semiconductor tariffs just being coming in on an executive order any day, and that will just alter your entire business on a dime. And I think on the nailed side, I think it is about being a force for stability against that, like getting keeping lighting professionals, well, making a sorry, I have to figure out how I'm phrasing this, but building up a core of lighting professionals that can be reliable even in situations that aren't.
That's a great. That is a great description of what Nailed should be, and I think that's a great point to close off on, Greg. Eric, what do you think? Should everyone just go to slgus.com right now, or what?
Oh, they should all day. Yeah, for sure. Nailed is strong. SLG is strong. They've got product in stock, everything you need, different flavors, sizes, shapes, colors, and great service to back it.
And of course, if you have light bulbs in a warehouse, Nailed is your crucial shield. NALD.org. We got lots of stuff. Last time we were doing it, it's like you're giving too many dates out, and they're the wrong dates. just just keep it simple. Of course, check out Light Fair. I'm going to be there. Greg's going to be there. And because he's such a damn pro, Scott Wachter, last word to you. Close it out.
I just want to thank you for your time, your attention. Enjoy your week, and there's no theme music this on these, are there? Yeah, and
No.
yeah, no. See ya.